Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Steven, and today we're going to cover 8 insanely useful websites that you probably didn't know existed. A lot of these websites I use pretty much every single day for my job as a freelance web designer and web developer, but they're also incredibly useful for marketing and just finding out and creating things on the internet. Anyway, let's get straight into that first site, and that is called Excalidraw. Now, Excalidraw is kind of like a mix between a place to create mind maps, little flow charts, and also a whiteboard. So the basis of this is you have a large canvas. Inside of here you can change the color of the canvas to whatever you like, and then inside of here you can create shapes, arrows, lines, you can draw like a whiteboard, and you can also add in text and images. So the main thing I actually do inside of here is create these little mind maps or flowcharts. If I'm ever trying to visualize an idea, I find this software really useful to use. The first thing I'm going to do is click on the text and then type in a little message. So let's just say hello, and then what we're going to do is create a box around this. So if I create this box, you can see it's got kind of a hand-drawn feel to a lot of this and a hand-drawn style with the font, but also the actual boxes themselves. I really like this because it just makes things almost feel like you're drawing it, but you have the benefits of it being digital. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one here, and I'm going to bring the text to the front. So I'm going to right click and then click bring to front, and now you can see this is in front of here. Let's click back on the box. We can change the background color of this box, we can change the outline of the stroke, but we can also do a bunch of other things along here. So you can change how it's filled, the width of the stroke, you can also change the stroke style and how sloppy the drawing is, which is kind of useful because, I mean, if I want to make it look realistic, then I just make it incredibly sloppy drawing. You can change the edges, all this kind of stuff, the opacity, all these things in here, so you can make these actually look really nice, really simply. What we're going to do now is select both of them and then hold Shift. I've got these both selected. Now I'm going to hit Command G on a Mac, and these are both selected into a group. So if I hold Option now and then just drag to the side, you can see I've duplicated this into 2 different points. Now I'm going to create a new point down here, and let's just call it Hello World. And then I'm going to create a little circle. So I'll drag this circle over, do exactly what I did before. So I'm going to bring Hello World to the front. There's actually little command shortcuts inside of here. So I can bring this one to the front, bring it in front of this one over here. Now let's change the background color of this to kind of a yellowy color. Let's change the size of this font. And what we're going to do now is select the ones above and drag an arrow from up here down to here. And then I'm going to hit Escape, so we got that one created, and now we're going to do the exact same along here. So you can see this is really useful to create those kind of little spider diagrams, whatever you want to call them, little flow charts. I also use this a lot for actually creating sitemaps for websites. So for example, on the top level, I'd have the web page itself, and then further down, what I would have is what is going to be on that page. This is a great place to just kind of visualize things and get them out of your head and onto a piece of digital paper. Now, the next tool that I want to share with you is called Wappalyzer, or at least that's what I think it's called. So basically what Wappalyzer does is it analyzes all of the infrastructure behind a website. So if you use different tools to build your website, for example, the actual website builder itself, like Shopify or Webflow or WordPress or any of these kind of builders, as well as the actual tools that I use to market the website itself. Now, this is really useful because you can see how people have created other websites. You can see what your competitors are using. You can see how people have gone about building their own online store. And then you can use those strategies to do that yourself. Now, there is the free option to just paste a URL to a website inside of here on the website itself. But what it's going to do is it's going to make you try sign up to get a profile on here. So you see I put my personal website on, it wants me to sign up and do all this kind of stuff. Something you actually can do, and this is what I do personally, is download the little Chrome extension. You see I've got the Chrome extension up here, and if I click on it, it's going to tell me what tools I use to build the actual Wappalyzer site itself. Now, I recommend actually using the Chrome extension rather than having to sign up for a profile, but if you want to, it is free and you can search 50 times a month to see different websites, and I don't think I've ever used it more than 50 times in a month. Now I'm going to show you how to use the Chrome extension because it's a bit easier and I can't be bothered to sign up for an account. Now, if we jump into my personal website and then I use it on here, you're going to see that my website is built inside of Webflow. Inside of here, you can see the web servers that Webflow use, you can see how they're caching, you can see the CDN, you can see all this kind of stuff. But something that's really interesting along here is you can also see the analytics tool that I'm using. You can see that Fathom is the analytics tool I'm using, which is kind of like a security-focused analytics tool, which doesn't track people and give data to Google. And I'm also using ConvertKit as my email marketing software. This can be really useful if you wanted to build a website like mine, or if you want to go onto an e-commerce store that you think is really cool and you want to see all the tools that they're using to sell that product. This is incredibly useful for designers, for developers, for marketers, and even creators who want to build their own assets. What I really enjoy about having Wappalyzer installed is that every time I go to a website and I'm interested as to how they built that website, I'll just click on it and I can pretty much guess most of the time what platform they've built the website on, what tools they're using, before I even need to actually click on the tool. If you're looking to build a business or even a little side project, I'd recommend checking out this website. The next website that you probably haven't heard about but is incredibly useful is called DesignStripe. Now, DesignStripe is kind of like an illustration library that you can use for free, but with a little bit of a twist. Now, if we jump into DesignStripe, you'll see along here, they have a bunch of free options. So some of these you have to pay for, sign up for an account and do that kind of stuff. But a lot of these are also free. And you can go inside of one of these that is free. So let's click on the one up here. And we can customize the illustration itself. So it's not just a basic illustration which someone has created and you just have to adjust to your brand. Instead, they actually have an editor where you can adjust this whole thing towards exactly how you want it. If we go into here and click on Start Editing, you'll see along here we have all of these different elements and all these different colors. What we can do at the top is change these to whatever our brand colors are. Let's say we want to kind of lock these in, have these as these different colors, and this is now what our brand looks like. You can also use a suggested palette or upload your own palette, but that is for the paid users. Along here, you can actually reduce the amount of detail in the scene or add more elements into the scene. And you can also change the look and feel if you want it to be more minimal or you want there to be kind of more maximal, more outlines, more things going on. What I find really interesting with this is you can actually select the different elements that are in the scene. So this is really useful if you're building a website or designing some form of graphic along here and you just need something to kind of fill in a different space, but you also want to adjust it and you don't just want to use like the basic, really obvious kind of stock images. And what you can do is you can hide and show any of these along here that you want to. You can also then come into them and select the actual different variations of this illustration. So for example, we want to change the person, then we can easily do that. And we can kind of change everything we need inside of the scene. Once that's perfect, you can then just hit download. And the thing that I really like about DesignStripe is that most of these tools, which kind of let you have some free access, what they do is they normally let you use the tool for free, but as soon as you want to export, they'll either let you export in like a really tiny unusable format, or they'll try make you kind of sign up to their service to just export something. But what's really good with DesignStripe is they let you export it as a PNG or a JPEG without signing up for any account or doing anything like that. But they also let you export it as a large file. So you can have it as a 1280 pixels wide by 1073 pixels tall, which is pretty much good for most things. And you can also export it with a transparent background if you need. So what I really like about this tool is that they're not constantly trying to push you towards signing up for an account and paying them. They actually have a really good free option here, and the offering is incredibly useful. The next insanely useful website that I use every single day, which you probably haven't heard of, is called SimilarWeb. Now, SimilarWeb essentially lets you look behind the curtain of different websites and see how they're doing on SEO and see how they're performing, see how much traffic they get, and all this kind of stuff. Now, again, with SimilarWeb, which is similar to Wappalyzer, is that it's actually better to download the Chrome extension because they don't make you sign up for an account through the Chrome extension. Whereas if you actually use the website itself and drop the URL that you want to use in the website itself, then it's going to try and make you sign up to an account before you can actually look at the data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to James Clear's website because he's absolutely killing it with SEO. And as you can see, I have this Chrome extension installed for SimilarWeb. And you can see already that it's saying the global rank of James Clear's website is 47,060th in the world. Now, if I click on it, what it's going to do is it's going to tell me his rough monthly visitors. So this isn't incredibly accurate. It's not 100% accurate. You're only ever going to get an accurate number of that person's traffic by having access to their backend and actually having it verified on the site. Along here, you can see some really interesting stats as well. So the category rank of his website is health and nutrition. So that's like the main kind of category that it falls into. And it is ranked 102nd in the world, which is quite impressive to say this is a website that isn't really about health and fitness. As you can see down here, the bounce rate is 65%, and that's just the amount of people who don't visit any other pages on the website, just the homepage. Pages per visit, monthly visits, average visit duration, all this kind of stuff is really interesting to check out. Again, it's really useful for marketers, developers, and designers. You can really see who are the big players in an industry, how well a niche is working, how well someone's content marketing is working. It's also useful for creators. You can see which creators are big, which creators are not really focusing on SEO, and really where a lot of their traffic's coming from. As you can see, 27% of his traffic is coming from the United States, and we have a bunch of different traffic sources. So half of his traffic is coming from search, so Google searches and things like that. 43% is coming direct, so that's a direct link that they clicked on to get to his website, and then a few others are coming from emails, referrals, social, things like that. Now, for me, the most interesting part of SimilarWeb is when you click on go to traffic and engagement. Now, it's going to bring you to their website. It's going to bring you to the back end as what you would have actually seen if you typed it into the website and signed up for their account. And it's going to give you even more data along here. So you can see the similar ranked websites. So for example, if you're trying to target a keyword or try build a business around something, you can see other websites that are kind of similar around this ranking. But the most important stuff is actually further down the page. You can start to see the demographic of people who visit the website. You can start to see other websites that these people have visited. So this is the actual important stuff and the things that's really interesting. You can see that people who are visiting jamesclear.com are also going to Mark Manson's website. They're also going to the Farnham Street blog and some other pages along here. You can see the topics that he's kind of falling into and all this other information. This tool is really handy to get kind of an overview of the industry as a whole and give you insight that other people do not have. Now, the next insanely useful website that you probably haven't heard of, and I really don't even know how this exists because it is just incredible, is called Photopea. And what Photopea is essentially someone's just completely rebuilt Photoshop, but inside the browser for free. I imagine Adobe are not very happy with this. So basically, when we jump inside of Photopea, you can see along here, you can select all your files kind of like you would inside of Photoshop. You got the little menu at the top and everything along here. So let's open a new project. They have a bunch of different templates, which is really useful. So let's say we're going to create an Instagram post and it wants to be of this raspberry because why not? So what's really interesting inside of here is you can essentially see a complete rebuild of Photoshop available to everyone for free. Inside of here, you can see all the tools that are available to you. You can kind of crop an image. You can, let's crop this. Let's use the little heal tool. So let's go along here, make this all nice and healed because for some reason this raspberry needs healing. And you can basically use any of the tools along here. As you can see, there's a bunch of different layers down here. And this is a tool that I don't actually use that often. I pay for the Adobe subscription just because I use Lightroom. If I didn't use Lightroom, then I would definitely use this instead of Photoshop whenever I had to. But this tool is incredibly useful for anyone who doesn't want to have to pay that Adobe subscription, but get the complete tool set available to you inside of Photoshop. You can pretty much do everything you can do inside of Photoshop in this tool. So you can have all the different layers, you can use everything you possibly want along here. And finally, what's really interesting about Photopea is if we go back onto the main page, what we can do is click on templates. Inside of here, there's all these different templates that are kind of community-driven templates, so anyone can upload these and add their own templates to the software. But there's also plugins inside of here and brushes as well. So if you want to have different brushes to create different effects, these are all available for free to everyone. This is one of those tools where I'm kind of amazed it still exists. I feel like Adobe would be able to make this shut down, but the fact that this is free, available to anyone, is just so cool. The next insanely useful tool that I use all the time is called 12-Foot Ladder. Now, what 12-Foot Ladder does is their kind of slogan is show me a 10-foot paywall and I'll show you a 12-foot ladder. So essentially what they do is they take paywalled content and they just show it to you for free. Now, what they actually do here is they find all these companies who are paywalling their information, they're paywalling their articles, but they also want to get the SEO juice. So they also want to get the benefit from Google basically seeing their article and showing it to people inside a Google search. Now, the way to do this as a company who paywall something is what they do is they send a version of that article to Google that has no paywall. So Google's crawlers, basically Google can index that website and they can rank that. But as soon as the individual comes onto the website, there'll be a paywall and they can't read it unless they actually upgrade and pay for it. What 12-Foot Ladder does is they find that indexed version, they find the version of the content that the site has sent to Google, and they just display that to you. For example, I have a link inside of here from the Financial Times. If I click remove paywall, you can see that I can read the whole article in here. But if I click on it on the Financial Times website, it wants me to upgrade to a trial or pay £35 a month to read their articles. This is incredibly useful. There is maybe a slight moral aspect of kind of getting past a paywall, and some people would have objections with that. But personally, I'm only using it for kind of rare things that I actually want to see and don't want to have to pay a million different subscriptions a month to actually access. But this is incredibly useful if you want to get this kind of information for free and not have to sign up to a bunch of other random things. The next insanely useful website that is completely free is called the Wayback Machine. So this is archive.com, which is basically a non-profit company that archives the whole internet over the last kind of 20 plus years, and they save what a web page looks like at a certain moment in time. For example, if we come into the Internet Archive, into the Wayback Machine now, and we drop in James Clear's website again, what we can do is drop it along here and then browse history. What it's going to do is it's going to grab all of the snapshots from James Clear's website over the last 10 years you can see along here. So if we click in 2011, you can see there's different snapshots of his website at different points. If we go into August 10th in 2011 and see this snapshot along here, what it's going to do is it's going to basically bring us into a portal back to what the website looked like at that time. And it's also going to show us the content on the page. You can see that the CSS, so the styling of the website, isn't always exactly the same. I'm sure his website didn't look like this, and I'm sure it was styled in a much nicer way, but you can see the exact content that was on that page. This is really useful because you can see what different companies were trying and what different people were doing in the early days. This website is incredibly useful. The Wayback Machine, the Internet Archive, and everything that archive.com do is so useful. Now, the eighth insanely useful website that you probably haven't heard of is something that I use all the time, and it is called Coolors. Coolors. It's colors with lots of O's, I think. And basically, this website lets you generate different matching palettes really easily. So they have two main sections of this site. The first section is the generator. So this is like the main part of this website. And inside the generator, what it's going to do is it's going to generate you a bunch of colors that actually work together. So for example, if we want to keep one of these colors, let's say we want this maximum blue-green to be one of our main colors, what we can do is we can drag it along to this side and then hit lock. And now that is going to stay every single time that we change these over. So if you hit space, it's then going to generate a new palette that matches this color, and this can be one of the colors inside that palette. And let's say we want to keep this, and we want the kind of black, the blue, and I don't know, we want this kind of champagne color, this color, and let's go with this purple. Now what we've done is we've generated a complete color palette which works really well together. You can also go inside of here and start adjusting the palette itself, so you can see different lighter shades of this if you want to grab lighter shades so you have a more complete palette. This tool is really useful for getting a really quick color palette, especially if you're just designing something like a graphic or something that you want that doesn't necessarily have a really complete palette. I personally use this a lot to actually just generate and spark inspiration for creating a color palette in the beginning, and also just finding colors that look nice. The other part of Coolors, this site, is the trending palette. So these are some of the most popular palettes on here. So it's kind of like a social aspect to this and things that other people are really enjoying and they really like. As you can see along here, here is some really nice color palettes that you can just grab yourself. And something I forgot to mention in the earlier part is if you hit the little dots, you can actually export that palette yourself. So you can export the URL to see the palette. You can export it as CSS, SVG, PDF. You can share it with other people. You can do all of this stuff. This is one of those tools that I find really useful if you need to make things look pretty and also really get an idea of what colors work well with each other. And there you have it. That is 8 insanely useful websites that you probably didn't know about. Let me know if you did know about them in the comments, and let me know if you think there is any other kind of insanely useful websites that I should know about and that other people should know about that you use all the time. Because as I was deciding which 8 to include in this video, I must have had a list of about 32 different websites. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know, and I could possibly create a second part to this, maybe just sharing completely free websites or something along those lines. Just let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this and you want to see more things like this. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.